Well, I hope everybody had a great Christmas, got to spend time with their families, got some good gifts, and hopefully nobody ended up with a lump of coal in their stockings. But unfortunately, your real family, FGO, is here to drag you back to the abyss because we have the big kahuna, the big raid itself. Koyanskaya is live right now on the NA version of the game. And I thought that since I'm kind of using a more, I don't want to say a janky setup, but maybe not the most optimal setup possible because my Melusine is only NP1, I thought I'd go ahead and put this video out there just so some other people that are playing the game that maybe don't have the most insane setups possible don't get too discouraged that they can't do this right. And always remember that if you can't do the 90++ one, you can always go down to the 90+ or even the regular one because the drops are still good. But the main thing that's kind of going on with this raid is that you want to take out all the enemies ideally because they all drop something. And so if you want to get all the total drops, you want to get the most QP, the most drops, all that good stuff, you would want to be using an AoE servant. But let's say you don't have a very strong servant. Maybe your account is a little bit newer. You just started playing during, say, Anniversary or something along those lines, and you don't feel as though your box can take it out. Well, let me show you that even with, say, a Melusine who is not Grail, does not have gold foes as NP1, can still handle this, raid with some level of consistency. It's not, 100%. I'd say it's 98% because I have had a run or two that things went a little bit south, but those are also kind of errors on my part because I was watching a show at the time and I probably should have, clicked the buttons in the correct order. So I did mess that one up. That's on me, but she can get it done is what I'm getting at. And even if you don't have, say, the event CEs, which, they're giving you extra damage, but you want them because of the bond. So you don't have that. You can always slap on like a Black Grail, or you can use, say, aerial drive or something. But you might also not want to use something like Black Grail if your servants are a little on the stronger side, because again, you want to take out everybody and you don't want to drop Koyanskaya too quickly. Keep that in mind. Now, the reason that we're going to be using Melusine starting off in her third ascension is so we can stack that third skill. That third skill gives her that NP damage, and you know that Oberon loves to interact with people that have high NP damage, so he's going to be able to take those buffs that she's giving herself and that she's stacking and really make them shine. Now, one of the things that we want to do immediately here, and this might seem a little bit strange, but you do want to target the third guy over here, because if you are going to be a little bit more reliant on card RNG and you don't think all of your NPs will actually take out the smaller guys, what you want to do is you want to make sure you're targeted on them, especially for maybe the first NP, because this counts as the third person. Koyanskaya is the second enemy that you're fighting. I know that it looks like she could be like the third or the first technically, but if you target this guy and you drop him, your servants will then auto-target back on a Koyanskaya and not the third guy back here. But if you do drop this guy, they'll try to mop up this guy over here as well. If you're doing 3-turn clears, it can be better to do that. So make sure that you're actually dropping these guys as fast as possible and getting that nice consistent 3-turn ending. You're making sure that everything is going swimmingly. And the first, NP can be a little bit on the weaker side because you're not stacking your buffs, and especially at NP1, you really do want to be stacking those buffs and making sure that you're getting a lot of damage and whatnot. But I like to fix that and almost try to fix the RNG of being able to drop these guys by just going ahead and using the attack buff right at the very beginning. Sometimes it will drop these guys, sometimes it will not. And so, I will just go and do that to maybe push that over the edge a little bit more. It's a little bit of a roll that this guy might live on, like, say, 10k HP, but it's at least a roll. It's more in your favor. Now, I also like to put the Koyanskaya cards first if I don't have, say, a Melusine Brave Chain, because that means that Koyanskaya will waste, the attack on one of the guys to drop them, and that means there's a higher chance that Melusine's card will go ahead and smack Koyanskaya, which, if one of your crits on Melusine lands, especially a Buster crit lands on Koyanskaya, you have all but guaranteed that you're going to get a nice clear. And you can see right here, yeah, it leaves him with like 3k HP. Koyanskaya wastes that, so we don't waste this nice, delectant, big old crit that Melusine's going to do. And that basically guarantees that we're going to get the clear. But again, you don't need to like find your Buster card specifically or anything like that. If you just generally go in the order that I'm showing you and you're just finding Melusine's cards, you're going to be a-okay. You're going to be just fine. Now, what we're going to do here is that we have a little bit of a weird situation where we're going to have to plug suit in Oberon a little bit early because, we didn't find arts cards or anything. We didn't find like double Buster cards to get that extra 20%, but that's fine. We can always plug suit in Oberon because we'll still have his 50% battery and we will still have our 30% battery next turn. So we're going to plug suit him in. Doesn't matter which Koyanskaya, doesn't really matter at this point. Bring that boy in. We're going to go ahead and fire his first skill, and then that's going to give us the extra NP that we need, and then we're just going to launch another NP, and we should again drop these guys. But just to be a little bit on the safer side, we're going to go ahead and do this again just to try to ensure that we actually do drop him. And remember that all of Melusine's Buster cards represent 20% NP because they are being buffed by Koyanskaya's third skill that individually give her 10% NP anytime she fires one of her Buster cards. So remember, you do want to be doing that and knowing that those represent 20% NP. But of course, because we did plug a suit Oberon over here, we've all but guaranteed that we're going to be able to, you know, drop the other two guys because our damage has gone way up. And you can see we almost took out Koyanskaya there, but because we don't have the third skill buff up quite yet, we're going to be absolutely fine. And even in this range, I'm going to go ahead and pop the illusion skill just to, you know, show that's kind of what you're doing if you're using, say, a weaker Buster AoE servant. Because again, this works for pretty much any Buster AoE that you would want to use, right? If you want to use your, aside from like maybe an NP1 Morgan, right, something along those lines, it'll probably get the job done. If you want to pop somebody like that, this is generally what you're going to do. Although if you're not using, say, a demonic beast servant like, say, Melusine, who is super effective against Koyanskaya, it's going to be a little bit on the rougher side. But we basically have this in the bag. By the time we get around here, this Melusine NP will do around the range of 750 to like 900,000, depending on the role. If you're newer to FGO and you don't know, there are damage rolls in the game. If you've ever played something like Pokemon, I think, also has damage rolls. If you ever played that, you know that there's kind of like a difference between your move doing, say, like 10 points of damage, 15 points of damage, or if you get a high roll, you get a 20, point damage, attack or whatever. That actually, is what's going on in FGO as well. You have these different variables that go into your damage. So sometimes that's why on the first node we pop the attack buff to kind of guarantee that they're going to get dropped by any card, that we use, whether it's a Koyanskaya or a Melusine one. And then it also kind of removes a little bit of that RNG because we're getting so much attack. Now, I do want to show an art setup, so I'm going to cut away real quick, and then I will rejoin you guys once I have that ready. Well, this is a little bit awkward. I was going to show a clear with both Vitra and with Taigong, and then I realized they're both only on my JP account. I thought I had them on global, and it turns out, no, I'm just really tired. But trust me when I say that they can both get the job done, as when I was able to do these raids when they came over to the JP version of the game, those are some of the servants that I actually used, because Taigong is anti-divine, and remember that Koyanskaya does have divinity, and he's also getting that huge massive event damage bonus that, especially if you have any of the event CEs that you pair that up with him, he will absolutely mollywop Koyanskaya. In fact, he might mollywop her a little too well, especially if you've got him at like NP2 or something. So if you did go on the banner, you did get Taigong, he will absolutely mop up this Koyanskaya for you. And then Vitra is anti-divine. She gives herself the NP damage buff, so she plays very nicely with Oberon, and most importantly, she is a demonic beast servant, meaning that she is super effective against Koyanskaya in the same way that Melusine is super effective against her. And the chances of you having Vitra are not low. I know that not everybody watching this is going to have her, but she is on every single banner, so maybe you randomly got spooked by her at some point during the year. Now you can kind of be like, well, it's not the servant I wanted at the time, but now she's at least going to be helping me out against Koyanskaya over here. But if you have any further questions, again, remember, this raid is going to be around for a long time. It is currently, 4 in the morning that I'm recording this because I got to get those drops, man, before everybody else, drops Koyanskaya a little too hard. But she's still only at 25 million, kills. So we're still going to be here for a long time. So chances are by the time this goes up in the morning, she'll still be very healthy, and you can use some of this advice to get you some nice drops, because look at all this, dude. She is dropping just a whole host of good stuff. I'm getting about like 6.5 million QP per run, and I'm still prioritizing bond. I only have 2 CEs for that. So you get good QP, you're getting good resources, and look at all the mats you're getting. The mats are absolutely insane. Don't judge me on my mats, all right? By the way, before someone's like, only 84 of the, scale of fantasy, don't judge me. I have to level up my Morgan. But with all that being said, I hope this was a little bit helpful, and again, kind of a little short video for me to throw out there. But again, it's also the holidays, I gotta keep things short, but I can't miss out on the daily upload, and I thought this would be very helpful for you guys. But with that being said, I'm gonna get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day. Peace. Late, guys.